So you all are able to see my screen, right?
Yes, Mataji.
Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Nena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Shri Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopika Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Anusute Devi Pranamami Hari Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Sagatara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are doing chapter 6 Ashtanga Yoga. What is Ashtanga Yoga actually? 8-limbed yoga system, right? So who is going to name the 8 limbs? Any one of you know? List the 8 limbs. Anybody? What are the 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga? Sahili Mataji, were you there yesterday? You want to try? Hare Krishna Mataji. Chaitanya Mataji, do you want to try? Yama, Niyama.
Yeah. Yama, Niyama, Pranayama.
Yama, Niyama, Asana.
No, Mataji.
Okay, let's see who else. Manohar Pranjabi Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Prabhuji, do you want to list the 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga? Yama, Niyama. That one. Yes, everyone is so quiet. We did it yesterday, right? Okay, this one. Okay, you can read now. Yama, Niyama, Asana. Then comes Pranayama. Then Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and finally Samadhi. Yes? Everyone is so quiet. Okay. So we read this also. So Krishna is giving information about what these various practices are. And we also read how difficult Ashtanga Yoga is. So let's continue from where we stopped. We learned all this yesterday. Okay. Finish this also. So who would like to read this slide? Anyone? Hare Krishna. Whoever wants to read can raise a hand so that you can recite the verses and read. Manohar Panjabi Prabhu, would you like to read this slide? This information here.
Should I read Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of mental speculation and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Bhagavad-Gita 6.24. Gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence, sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. Bhagavad-Gita 6.25. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Okay, one more, Prabhu, and then we'll discuss.
From wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. Bhagavad-Gita 6.26. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So one who is practicing this yoga should be very determined and patient. He has to be very patient and determined also. He cannot lose hope easily. He has to be really, really, practicing it with all his heart and soul. So that's how it is. And like we can this story about sparrow, for determination. Have you heard about the story of a sparrow who lost her eggs? Have you? There was a sparrow who lost her eggs. And what did she do? So there was a sparrow who laid her eggs on the seashore of the ocean. And what happened was the waves carried all the eggs away. The sparrow became very upset. She was like, give me my eggs back. She kept telling the ocean, return my eggs, return my eggs. And the ocean did not pay any attention, it did not even consider her appeal. So the sparrow wanted her eggs. So what she did? She started picking out the water in a small beak. First of all, the sparrow is so small. And then her beak is even more tiny, right? So she started picking one drop at a time. And everyone started laughing. Everybody's like, what is this sparrow doing? And the news spread everywhere. Garuda heard that. And when Garuda heard that, Garuda felt very, very sad. So he came and then he told the sparrow, I'm very much pleased by your determination. So I'm going to help you. So he told the ocean, Garuda is the devotee of the Lord. He has powers. He can do so many things. So he told the ocean, return her eggs or I'm going to dry you up. So the ocean got very frightened and returned all the eggs. And the sparrow became happy. So there is this proverb, right? God helps those who help themselves. It's like that. We also have to be so determined. No, I am going to reach Krishna's lotus feet. I am going to practice this. I'm going to practice that. But here the Ashtanga Yogi has to be really, really very, very patient and very determined. So it's not an easy process. So that's what they are trying to understand. And in Pratyahara stage, what happens is the yogi has to stop sense activities with intelligence and conviction. He has to, I have to gradually just stop all my sense activities. So he's trying very, very hard. His mind is being controlled and slowly he's going to reach a stage of samadhi. And then, because mind is very, very difficult to control. And Arjuna is also going to say the same thing now. So how do we control our mind? For us, the easiest process again is Krishna consciousness. So one who controls the mind is called a Goswami. We know that. And that is the highest perfection of yoga practice. So let's move ahead. Okay. Who would like to read this one? Sahil, Kavita Mataji, would you like to read this one? She's usually very active. So
yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attained the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the mode of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus he is freed from all reactions to past deeds. Hare Krishna Mataji.
is there one more? There is this.
Thus, self-controlled yogi, constantly engaged in yoga practice, becomes free from all material contamination and achieves the highest stage of perfection, perfect happiness in transcendental loving service to the Lord. The Bhagavad-Gita verse 6.28. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji, one more. You read this one and then we'll discuss.
A true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees very being in me. Indeed, the self-realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord, everywhere. Bhagavad-Gita 6.29.
6.29. So important. We'll discuss this. See, what is self-realization? According to so far whatever we have read, self-realization means knowing one's constitutional position in relationship to the Supreme Lord. Who are we? How are we related to the Lord? Okay. So the individual soul is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and his position is such that he has to render transcendental service to the Lord. So a self-realized person understands this much. Now, a Krishna conscious yogi also understands this, and he is a perfect seer. It is said that a Krishna conscious yogi is a perfect seer. How? What do you mean by a perfect seer? How is he perfect? Can you give some answers, like, whatever you can share your thoughts about this. How is he perfect seer? It's okay. You can share whatever you understand. Another Prabhuji, do you want to say something about this? How is he a perfect seer? The answer is in the this 6.29 verse. Who would like to say something? It's okay, you just participate. If it's okay to be wrong. It's okay. We'll just discuss, that's all. Kavita Mataji, would you like to say something?
Yes,
Or who
Mataji,
else?
as you gave a hint, like perfect fear means you have to see God in every living entity.
Excellent, Mataji. Yes, that's what it is. Because a person who is a perfect, yogi, who is a very highly elevated Krishna conscious person, he sees Krishna in the heart of everyone, a believer and a non-believer also. He knows in the heart of the atheist also there is God. He understands that. So he sees everyone equally. He knows all these living entities who he is seeing are all servants of God, nothing else. They are in the material energy, so they are serving the material senses. When they go back to when they are in the spiritual energy, they serve the Supreme Lord directly. That's all. We are either serving the material senses or we are serving the Supreme Lord. So in either case, we are the servant of God only. So he understands that. That's why Krishna is neutral. Krishna himself is like a mother, he maintains everyone. Like Duryodhana also had everything, all the facilities. He had the sun, he had water, he had everything, but still he was what he was. So in 7th chapter, we'll understand, there are two energies, that the Lord has two energies, the spiritual and the material. One is superior energy, the other one is inferior. And we are all living entities who are part of the superior energy, but conditioned by the inferior energy, spirit trapped in matter. So we are conditioned by the inferior energy. We'll understand that in the 7th chapter. So we'll go ahead now. Okay. We'll do one thing, we'll read this one by one. Who would like to read the verses here? There are only two people who have raised hands. So, Manohar Prabhuji, would you like to read one first from this slide?
Mataji, Hare Krishna Mataji. Such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the Supreme Super Soul, knowing that I and the Super Soul are one, remains always in me in all circumstances. Bhagavad-Gita 6.31.
There is one more.
Yes. He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress. O Arjuna, Bhagavad-Gita 6.32. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So here, so Krishna is the Lord of everything. Nothing exists without Krishna. Everything is a manifestation of Krishna's energy. This is the basic principle of Krishna consciousness. This much we understand. Krishna is the Lord of everything. Everything is a manifestation of his energy. And Krishna consciousness means development of love of Krishna. It's a transcendental position, nothing material about it. And yogi who is meditating like this Ashtanga Yogi, he will see within himself Vishnu. Vishnu in the sense, Vishnu is a plenary portion of Krishna only. So he will see Vishnu with 4 hands, Krishna, with 4 hands and holding a conch shell, wheel, his club and his lotus flower, all this. He can actually see that. So he realizes that. And then after seeing that, it is like you're seeing something, you actually realizes that he becomes absorbed in thinking of Krishna. And there's no difference between Vishnu and Krishna, as we know. So that's what he sees. And he will, Krishna in this form is present in everyone's heart. So he'll see that. And this Paramatma, actually, what he sees, if he really reaches this stage, he'll see that the Paramatma does not blink. He can see whatever he's holding, and he can see his eyes are always open. He's standing, he can realize all that. And then he gets the transcendental association of the Lord. After this, he slowly progresses and he can become a complete Bhakta. Or he may not also. So that is a risk they are taking, at least they want to realize the super soul. That's why the absolute truth. That's why this difficult process. But what happens in Krishna consciousness? That is the highest stage of trance in yoga practice. And because Krishna consciousness itself, right from the beginning, we are following all the regulative principles, and we are actually, we are already on the right track. So we don't have to go through so many other difficult processes. And also, it is said a perfect yogi is the best philanthropist. The Krishna conscious person is a perfect yogi and is the best philanthropist. How is that? Can you just say why he is the perfect philanthropist? Because people think we give charity and we have done such a great job. You offer a little food and we think, oh wow, I offered food and I'm such a good person today. But a Krishna conscious person is actually, says the best. Can you give some thoughts about this? What do you think? Why is he the best philanthropist? You'll find all the answers in these verses only, in these shlokas, in the purports. Prabhupada himself is saying all the answers.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Like the person who is already in Krishna consciousness, he can be best in the reason. First of all, as you said, like they are following the 4 regulative principles. So they are not even killing the animals, like meat eating, etc. is not there. So in that way also they are not hurting anyone, and if they are saying like God is in everyone's heart, so they are giving them equal treatment to most of them, like equal treatment is there. So they are not considering someone is very great or someone is very low in quality. So in this way, like emotionally also, they're respecting each one. If we say emotional quotient wise also, so they are trying to respect each one. So in that sense, we can say they are the best ones. And otherwise also, like they are not doing cheating, gambling, etc. So they are saving, like their family, etc. will be also stable. Family will be stable. Relationship will be stable. Emotionally also they will be stable because they are not into bad habits. So in that way also, family wise also they are, or society wise also, they can be best.
Thank you
Jai
for
Shri.
your response. Yes, a Krishna conscious person is a friend to everyone. He does not envy anyone. And of course, he is following all this. And he will not desire perfection in yoga for his own personal benefit, but he'll try for others also. Okay, and he'll try to give this information to others, like how Prabhupada was, trying to help so many people, because he wanted to help us become Krishna conscious. That was his goal, take us back to Goloka, to the Lord's feet. So they're actually like that. They don't go to a secluded place and meditate and just to become perfect in something. They are actually among people, living like that lotus. We saw that, right? They don't become dirty, but at the same time, they're trying to make us, purify us. So they're helping a lot of people that way. So once the consciousness is clear, everything is fine. So that's how it is. So that's what they're trying to do. And then the society automatically becomes peaceful, like you said. Thank you, Mataji. So there is something here. Necessity of controlling the turbulent mind. Although control of mind is undoubtedly a difficult process, nevertheless, control of mind is essential and obtainable only by constant practice and detachment. See, a normal person will have to fight so many distractions to control his mind. Not easy at all. So it is like, see, when we see an enemy, a friend, everyone has someone they don't like, right? Sometimes it happens. And see an enemy and friend externally, artificially, we may show some equilibrium, mental equilibrium. Oh, everybody is two-faced sometimes, right? When you face someone whom you really don't like, but still, externally, you may smile and just try to, show that you are not at all bothered by them. It is not easy. Internally, you may be disturbed. So it is like that. It is like controlling the raging wind. So becoming completely having that neutrality and everything, it is not at all easy. And so that's why Arjuna is saying, controlling the mind itself is not so easy. So the easiest way to control our mind is again suggested by Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So if we engage our mind fully in Krishna, then we we'll have no other engagement other than Krishna, and then there won't be any agitations to the mind. Nothing will agitate our mind. So the more we practice, we can progress. Otherwise, it's always going to disturb us. Mind is like that. And here we are discussing Arjuna. This is just to say Arjuna is not an ordinary person. He had concentration when he was little only. Focusing the mind or all this is something very, very easy for him. Because when he was very little, we know this. You know this incident when Dronacharya asked, what do you see? And there was a bird on this tree and he wanted them to shoot at the eye. You know what Arjuna answered? This is a very famous incident, right?
Yeah, he said only I can see only the eye of the bird, and others were saying like we can see the leaves, we can see plant, fruits, etc. But he was able to see the eye of the bird, I think so.
So he was very, very focused at that age. So
Yes.
and he's telling this is difficult for him. That is why. And he was also Naranarayan Rishi. Krishna said, Arjuna, you were very much with me. He is an eternal associate of Krishna. He was there with Krishna many times before. He's just forgotten because his condition is all right now. He's forgotten. He was in long ago. He appeared as Naranarayan Rishi, and Naranarayan Rishis are in the next slides also. You can see that. And this Ashtanga Yoga could be done in Satya Yoga, where the lifespan of a person was very, very long. Today it's not like that, we have barely 100 years to live, and what can we really achieve? We used to live for 1 lakh years or so. So thousands of years just to spend on meditation and other things. Our life is very short. So this is Arjuna fighting Lord Shiva. So this, and he got the Pashupatastra. So not everyone can go and fight with Lord Shiva, right? And Shiva was very much pleased and gave him the gift. He rewarded him. So this is Naranarayan Rishi. Actually, they are like twins. They were born to Dharma and Murti Devi. Murti Devi was Daksha's daughter. And then they are like, Nara is Arjuna, Narayan is Krishna himself. So they appear to, to spread Krishna consciousness and to remove adharma. That was the intention. And that time also Arjuna was very much with him. So when we look at Arjuna, we think, normally in the society, everybody talks about Arjuna. Like everyone knows Mahabharata, at least they know Arjuna. They'll say, oh, he was an epitome of human excellence. They'll say he was such a great student. He was a great warrior. He was a great brother, great son. They'll say, they will glorify him. And they'll see only the human part of Arjuna. They don't understand this divine touch to him. He is an eternal associate and he is a very highly elevated devotee of the Lord. So Nara, the ancient sage, is always with Narayan to destroy adharma. Just to say that Arjuna was not at all an ordinary person. So here, this is a verse here. Who would like to recite this one?
Shall I recite, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, sure, Mataji.
I cannot see, Mataji, anything. Only I can see the picture.
Are you able to see the sloka? Arjuna Uvacha.
I can see the picture of Narayan only, you say. You are sure.
Oh, really? How about others? Are you all able to see the sloka 6.33?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, now I can see. Yes, Mataji. So, okay. Arjuna uvacha yoyam yogastvya protha samyena madhusudana etashyam na pashyami chanchalaltvat sthitam sthiram. Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Krishna Mataji. So what does Krishna reply? He'll say Abhyasena and Vairagya. He's saying, so Arjuna definitely had better facilities than us those days for all this Ashtanga Yoga, but he's not going to do that. So imagine an ordinary person living home, going to a secluded place, living on a mountain among your snakes and all these wild animals in the jungle, in this Kali Yuga especially, So, and here in this Kali Yuga, people are not even serious about self-realization. And imagine, they won't do all this difficult yoga system. Let's go on to the next slide. Okay. Okay. Who would like to recite this verse?
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramati balavad yudham tasyaham nigraham manye vayu iva saduskaram. Mataji, English.
I say, yes. Thank you, Prabhu.
For the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna. And to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. Bhagavad-Gita 6.34.
Thank you,
But
Prabhu.
Krishna, the mind is more difficult to control than the wind. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Many devotees in Bhagavatam have said the same thing. Prahlad Maharaj also talks about mind. He tells his father, you're looking for an enemy outside. Enemy is inside you. Actually, your enemy is your own mind. So, Prahlad Maharaj says our enemy is the biggest, our mind could be our biggest enemy. And unless the mind is controlled, the practice of yoga is simply a waste of time. We can go and do whatever exercise we want. If our mind is not controlled, there's no use. So that's what it is. We have to live with our greatest enemy. And real yoga means meeting the Paramatma within the heart and following his dictation. So for us, we have the Guru who is giving us all the instructions. So that way we are very, very fortunate. Okay. So there is one shloka here. Let's see. Kavita Mataji or Deepika Mataji, would you like to recite? Because usually they both only are reciting. Chaitali Mataji has raised her hand. Okay, yes, Mataji, please recite.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Asamshayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha Grahyate. 6.35. Lord Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. So, in Krishna consciousness, what is happening? A devotee is engaging in 9 types of devotional service to the Lord. It is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, right? Pada Sevanam. You have heard about this, right? Archanam, all this. Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. He's doing all these different processes. And like Krishna himself says in the next chapter also, he'll say, here. So Krishna consciousness, it is repeatedly said, it's very important to hear about the scriptures, hear Bhagavatam, hear about Krishna. So why hearing is so important is, when you are hearing the nectarian narrations of all these Krishna's pastimes and his glories and everything, what is happening is our heart is becoming, it's like cleaning our heart and our devotion increases. And it's very easy to become attached to Krishna. That's why we have to hear. hearing about Krishna is very, very powerful. So it will clear our mind of all misgivings, and we automatically become attached to Krishna. So that is why it is recommended to hear. And impersonal spiritual detachment is not so easy. Again, it is very, very difficult. In impersonal people who are speculating and all this, that it's not easy for them, But for us, we have activities to perform. For devotees, there's so many activities, and those devotional activities are so, you can perform with a lot of joy. There's so much satisfaction. It is written in the purport also, transcendental satisfaction. It is not something that you will experience when you are enjoying your materials. So it is something, very transcendental. So that's how it is. It is like when a hungry person has a good meal, feels so happy, right? Then there's no hunger. He feels so satisfied. It's like that. A Krishna conscious person's heart is so happy and satisfied. He's as if he's eaten a very nice meal after, and he's not hungry anymore. It's like that. And it is also said it is like curing a disease, like eating Krishna prasadam and hearing about Krishna. It's like curing all our material disease. So that is the treatment, for all our miseries. Let's go on. Something here. Abhyasa and Vairagya. The senses can be controlled by right practice and detachment. Krishna's opinion. For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work, but he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. So Krishna declares that if someone cannot detach the mind from material engagement, he will never achieve success in self-realization. So we can try to practice yoga while engaging the mind in material enjoyment. It is like Prabhupada says, he gives a lot of analogies about Bhagavad-Gita. He's telling it is like igniting a fire while pouring water on it. When the wood is wet, it's not going to catch fire, right? Even the matchbox, if it is wet, it's not possible to light the fire. It's like that. I do all kind of exercise and I'll go and enjoy, whatever people, that's what they're doing, right? They're not trying to control their mind or senses. They'll do yoga, they call it yoga, they'll do all kind of poses, postures, everything. Then they'll go and drink, they'll go and smoke, they'll watch nice movie, they will sleep longer, no rules followed. So that is not yoga. So that is what it is. Then there is no perfection in yoga. It is just exercise, that's all. Because internally there is nothing happening. Okay. Trying to practice yoga while engaging the mind in material enjoyment is trying to ignite a fire while pouring water on it. Similarly, yoga practice without mental control is a waste of time. Okay, the destination of the unsuccessful yogi. Have you heard about Saubari Muni? Have you? Okay, I'll tell you about him. Okay, see now, the Saubari Muni was sitting underwater and performing austerities. He was meditating. He was trying. Okay, then he saw two fish copulating and he lost his mental equilibrium. He came out of the water, went to the king and said, "I want to marry your daughters." And the king first looked at him and said, he was not looking that good also. There are princesses who are very, very beautiful. How will they marry him? Ultimately, he gets married. He has all the mystic powers. Then he looks good and they marry him. So it's like that. He had to enter Grihastha. He could not control his senses just because he saw two fish copulating inside the water. He had to come out. So even great yogis, for them also it's very, very difficult to control the senses. But Krishna consciousness is so perfect. It is said, Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that unsuccessful transcendentalists obtain either heavenly enjoyment followed by an aristocratic birth if they are slightly advanced, or birth in a family of wise transcendentalists that bring them immediate further training if they are more advanced. So what happens to unsuccessful transcendentalists? If they are not, they're not completely successful in their yoga, so what will happen? There is no loss. Krishna himself says that in second chapter, right? Svalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato hayat. So they can get a birth in an aristocratic family. And then from there, they have all the facilities. They don't have to worry about food and that and this and education and all that. They can focus on their spiritual development. Same way, if they are born in a family of wise transcendentalists among Vaishnavas, like Prabhupada was born in a Vaishnava family. His father was very supportive of his goals and his desires. So what will happen? That will bring them immediate further training, right? That will help them. They can become more and more advanced. Okay. What happens to the unsuccessful transcendentalist? Although he begins the process of self-realization with faith, he later desists due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism. A person can actually pursue self-realization in so many ways. The path of knowledge, path of Ashtanga Yoga, this is eightfold system, or Bhakti Yoga. But Maya is very, very strong. She can defeat us with so many temptations. So it is like Prabhupada writes, following this transcendental path is like waging a war against the illusory energy of the Lord. So it is not easy. So that's why Arjuna is asking what will happen if somebody cannot, succeed while doing all this. What will happen to them? And he got the answer. O mighty armed Krishna, does not such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence fall away from both spiritual and material success and perish like a riven cloud, no position in any sphere? See. This is my doubt, O Krishna, and I ask you to dispel it completely. But for you, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt. Okay. And here, this is Ajamila. Ajamila said Narayana, Narayana. He was actually calling his son. Do you know Ajamila's story? Have you heard about Ajamila in your 18 days course?
Yes, Mataji. Yes.
So you know about him. So in the last moment, he called Narayana, save me, Narayana. So actually, Vishnu Dutas appeared there. Yamadutas were there, Vishnu Dutas also were there. So Krishna is so merciful. Even if you're chanting his name without attention, unintentionally you are taking the Lord's name also, you still see some benefits. Okay. Supreme Personality of Godhead said, son of Pritha, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. The person who does not perform his prescribed duties will definitely suffer his reactions. Vedas are telling that. But in Krishna consciousness, he's not a loser. Everything he does is auspicious. He will not do anything inauspicious. So that's how it is. So human beings can be classified into two sections, regulated and non-regulated. Those who are regulated, what happens? They follow the prescribed duties, and those are non-regulated are like animals. They'll have animal propensities and they will do all kind of inauspicious things. And they'll remain in material existence and they'll always be miserable because of that. So that's the difference. Okay, there's a verse here. Sorry, it just appeared. Who would like to recite? Sri Bhagavan Vacha. Kavita Mataji, Hare Krishna. Next one, if it is there, Manohar Prabhu can recite.
Okay, Hare Krishna Mataji. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Partha Naiveha Namutra Vinashastasya Vidyate Nahi Kalyana Krutakschi Durgatim Tata Gacchati. The blessed Lord said, son of Partha, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never become by evil. Hare Krishna.
Mataji. The unsuccessful yogi, pious birth into good family, revives the divine consciousness in early stage of life, youth, naturally attracted to the yogic principles, and some examples. This is Bharat Maharaj after Bharat Maharaj in that birth. Then in this next birth he becomes a deer, and after that he becomes Jada Bharat. So this image is about Jada Bharat. Okay. Who would like to read this? Sahili Mataji, Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji. Go ahead and read.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Pranam Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, nice to see you.
Yes, same here Mataji. The unsuccessful yogi, after many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. Bhagavad-Gita 6.41. Or if unsuccessful after long practice of yoga, he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly such a birth is rare in this world. Bhagavad Gita 6.42. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Mataji, there's one more.
Yes. On taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success. O son of Kuru, Bhagavad Gita. O son of Kuru, Bhagavad Gita 6.43.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
This little boy here is Prabhupada. When he was very little only, he was attracted to Krishna and Radha Krishna, and he wanted to perform the Ratha Yatra and all. We have, read all that in our 18 days and heard all that, right? So he was very pious at that age only. It's very interesting to read his Leelamrita. So we were talking about King Bharata. So what happened is in his third birth, he was born in a very good Brahmana family. Okay, and then he could revive his transcendental consciousness because of that. And King Bharata was the emperor of the whole world. It's not like today everything is divided, right? King Bharata ruled the entire world, and that's why this planet was called Bharatvarsha. All the demigods used to call, this planet is Bharatvarsha. Our Mother Earth was called Bharatvarsha because of him. And before that, it was called Ilavarta Varsha, it says. So that who he was. But he retired early, and then he got attached to a deer in the forest. You know about him. That's why he has to become a deer in his next birth. Then after that, he becomes Jadabharat. Then he was discovered by King Rahugana. Then he understood, this is not an ordinary person. He was actually carrying this one, what is it, palanquin, no, of the king, and he was not walking properly. It was very disturbing. So the king said, who is this person walking like this? Then can't you walk properly? This person was actually trying to avoid stepping on all these ants and all. Then he is very angry. The king is actually very angry with this Jadabharat. But the Jadabharat, the way he responds, he'll understand. The king immediately understands he's not ordinary. He must be some great sage or somebody like that great. So immediately he thinks, he's a great transcendentalist. And he says he's worthy of becoming his guru. Is like that, very, very elevated. So by the grace of Krishna, he will get opportunities where we can perfect our spiritual life. It depends on our own efforts also. Okay, who would like to read this one? Anyone who has not read could read this nicely and slowly. Smriti Mataji, Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji, please read.
Hare Krishna Mataji. By virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. Bhagavad-Gita 6.44. And when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed off all contaminations, then ultimately achieving perfections after many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal. Bhagavad Gita 6.45. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. When the yogis become very, very advanced, attracted to rituals. There are so many rituals recommended in the scriptures, right? So they're not attracted to that. They just become, they're more into yoga principles because they're very elevated. That is the highest yoga perfection. And it's also said that a person who is chanting the holy names of the Lord is really very, very advanced in spiritual life. Even if he's born in the family of a dog eater, or it does not matter what kind of family or from which part of the world he's coming from. If he's chanting the holy name of the Lord, that means he's a very advanced person. There are many examples in our scriptures and in Chaitanya Charitamrita also. You can see Haridas Thakur, actually he was born in a Muslim family, but then he was chanting 300,000 holy names of the Lord every day. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, like that. Constantly used to chant. Sometimes he used to chant in his mind, sometimes loud, sometimes, all the time. Once somebody asked, he was walking on the, on the seashore near water. He was walking and he was chanting. Somebody said, "You're chanting, fine, you're chanting, but I can hear you chanting." So we looked at him like, "So what's the problem?" He hears, right? So he said, "But why can't you just chant in your mind? Why are you chanting loudly?" He said, "No, I chant a little loud sometimes so that it will benefit others. People who are hearing, they are also getting benefits. Their sins are being washed away, and all these other creatures, everybody who is around, everyone, all these little creatures also, plants, trees, everyone is benefiting from that. That is why sometimes I chant loudly, so they also can hear and get purified." So Haridas Thakur said that. So like that, but he was not from a Brahmanical family, but still Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called him Namacharya. Like that. It is also said in Bhagavatam and all, if somebody is chanting the holy name of the Lord, if you have already come in touch with all this, that means we have actually performed lot of religious rituals and we have gone through so many. It's like already taken bath in all these holy places. Yeah, must have done some good karma for us to come in touch with this. That means we are already, we're kind of lucky that way because we are getting to chant the holy name. So that's what it says. Let's go on. We have a few more slides to go. Yogis are greater than empresses, fruitive workers, and ascetics. Of all yogis, those who with full faith always think of Krishna and render transcendental loving service to him are the highest of all. Because they have already realized the ultimate truth and what is the goal of life, right? So with full faith, if they are thinking about Krishna and rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna, that is the highest perfection of yoga. So all that exercise and all those yogic principles in Ashtanga Yoga are all meant to reach Krishna's lotus feet only. Who would like to recite this one? Manohar Panjabi Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Yes,
Hare Krishna
Prabhuji.
Mataji. Bhagavad-Gita 6.47. Yoginam api sarvesham madagatentara atmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam sami yukta tamo mataha. A yogi is greater than the ascetic, greater than the empiricist, and greater than the fruitive worker. Therefore, O Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi. Bhagavad-Gita 6.46. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. He is saying directly, so in all circumstances, become a yogi. So when you speak of yoga, actually what is yoga? Discussed yesterday, what is yoga actually? We are referring to linking our consciousness with the supreme absolute truth. That is yoga. So if you are, if the linking process is mainly in fruitive activities, that is karma yoga. In all these kind of activities, slowly it will reach karma yoga. And if it is predominantly empirical, mental speculation and all this analyzing and all, it's called jnana yoga. And if it is in devotional relationship with the Lord, that is bhakti yoga. This ultimate perfection of all yogas. Okay, so bhakti yoga is the ultimate perfection of all yogas. Now asceticism, like all the austerities and all this, all that people perform yoga yogis, so-called yogis perform, if they don't have knowledge, if there is no self-knowledge, then everything is imperfect, whatever they are doing. And empirical knowledge also, jnana, they collect so much jnana, do whatever. But if there is no surrender to the Lord, that is also imperfect. And fruity work without Krishna consciousness is just a waste of time. So all this Prabhupada is telling us very clearly. So if people become very proud of all this. Gnanis sometimes become very, very proud. Oh, look, I learned this, I learned that. That knowledge is one thing. Realization of knowledge is another thing, right? If a person has realized the knowledge, he'll surrender to the Lord and he will just engage himself in the transcendental loving service to the Lord. So that is the ultimate goal. And there's something here. Let me read. Of all yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving services to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. That is Krishna who is saying this. So we can understand it's all coming from him directly. This is Rupa Goswami. Do you know this pastime? We have one more slide to go, and if you remember this pastime, you can narrate this one. Who would like to tell what's happening in this image? Rupa Goswami is writing something, and there's one. You see, somebody is coming towards him. Do you know this pastime?
No, Mataji, no.
Okay, once what happens is Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, they are in Vrindavan, right? Vrindavan was like a forest those days. They would be sitting under different trees, and they would, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave them some work, they were always doing that, complete surrender to the Guru. They would follow his instructions. One day he thinks, oh, I wish I could offer some nice kheer to Krishna and also share that, give it to my brother Sanatana Goswami. He's thinking, but in the forest, where will all the ingredients come from? To make kheer, you need milk and cardamom and nuts and ghee and whatnot, right? You need something sweet like sugar, everything. So he just thinks like that. After some time, a nice, beautiful girl comes and she brings some ingredients with her. She says there was some ceremony at my home, and then my mom only sent this, so please accept this, and you can make something out of it. And he says, no, how do I make this? Then she said, no problem, I'll make it for you. So she'll make a nice kheer. Then he'll offer it to Krishna, and he'll give the prasad to Sanatan Goswami. Sanatan Goswami asks, where did you get this such delicious kheer and all these ingredients? It's like a miracle, right? And just suddenly it doesn't happen every day. How did this happen? Then he'll say, no, there was this little girl who brought all this. Then he'll say, how did she look? Then he'll explain. He'll say, she was so innocent looking. She's so beautiful. She was like a little girl only. Then he'll say, oh, Rupa Goswami, actually you have taken service by Radharani. You just desire, and Krishna provides the, the circumstances that desires are fulfilled. It's like that. They'll say, we are trying to serve them, Radha and Krishna, and here we are taking service from them. Oh no, he'll talk like that. So that is the first time. Krishna is listening, right? He wants to please his devotee. He's ready to serve his devotees. We are trying to serve him, but he's also looking for opportunities to serve his pure devotees. He wants that innocence, and he's looking for a clean heart and innocence, nothing else. So this is again, these are all yogis, all these were his associates from Goloka Vrindavan. All the gopas who played with him, all the gopis, they were not ordinary at all. If they can associate with Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the perfect in everything, he is that's the greatest. They're very, very lucky, and they were not ordinary. If they can have that kind of opportunity, you can imagine how elevated they were all. So that's what it's saying here. Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united. They're enjoying with him, right? They played with him, they were like swimming together, eating together. They served Krishna. and then united with me in yoga, and is the highest of all. They get such close friendship with Krishna. And there are many people who have attained perfection just being associated with other devotees, like Narad Muni himself. How he became Narad Muni, do you know about that? How Narad Muni became Narad Muni? Have you heard about that past time?
He used to
His mother, I think his mother was serving with like his mother was in association with sages and all that. They used to come to their place, and she used to serve them. And once I think so, he took the prasadam, left out prasadam of sages.
Okay.
Cannot say that.
Yes, Mataji. In Chaturmas, what happens is the sages actually stay in one place. And so that's the time when Narad Muni's mother was serving these people. Now he also got association. He heard what they were discussing because they were all very highly elevated sages, right? Whatever they were discussing, he was hearing. They don't discuss ordinary stuff. No, their discussion is on another level. It's all transcendental. So he was hearing that, and then one day he said, "Can I eat the remnants of the food stuff on your leaf?" They said, "Yeah, sure." Then he was eating all that, whatever something will be there in the leaf, right? He was eating that, cleaning up all that. Then one day his mother passed away, and that day he actually such a small boy at 5 years of age, he understood that, oh, this has happened to me. My mother has been taken away from me, because the Lord wants me to become closer to Him. Something happened in his mind, and he thought like that. So imagine that maturity at that small age, and he knew only what they had taught him. The sages had taught him, and just by eating the remnants of food, he got purified. In the sense, he was just chanting what they taught, like Om Namo Narayanaya and all that. He kept on chanting, kept on roaming into so many forests and everywhere, and ultimately he had darshan of the Lord. And after that, he immediately became transcendental. He gave up this body and became Narad Muni. That's all. So now he can go anywhere he wants. He has got a spiritual body. So all this because he came in contact with these elevated devotees. So it's so powerful. When we come in touch with great devotees, that's what happens to us. We get purified. So this is what we studied in chapter 6. Advancing in yoga through detached work, the yoga ruda stage, giving up work. Further stages in the practice of yoga, necessity of controlling the turbulent mind, the destination of the unsuccessful yogi, the topmost yogi. So, what did we learn? Uncontrolled mind is the biggest enemy. We learned that. And Krishna said, Bhakti is the highest form of yoga. In the 7th chapter, he's going to describe from 7th chapter onwards, he's going to describe Bhakti Yoga elaborately. So the middle 1/3 of Bhagavad-Gita is called, in a sandwich, you'll have the tasty stuff in the middle, right? It's like the cream. It's like that. The middle is about Bhakti. Very delicious. And it is like the secret also. So he's talking about pure Bhakti that we're going to learn from 7th chapter onwards. Lot of information there. Then so the 3 levels of secretive knowledge given in Bhagavad Gita will also be discussed, like Guhya, Guhyatara, and Guhyatamam. So we'll understand all that. So that we'll do next weekend. And all of you, actually, I will tell you, I'll just stop the live. Okay.